The Koopa General, a character first seen in the Super Mario Bros. Movie and based off of the infamous Blue Shell. A high-ranking member of the Bowser Army, he is easily the MVP of the first Mario movie. He is most definitely not sane at all. And somehow, he's become one of my favorite Mario characters of all time. Just look at my profile picture. But in spite of this, he's somewhat faded into obscurity with the years that have passed since the first movie's release. Here's the thing though, I personally think that just making the Koopa General a movie exclusive character reeks of wasted potential. Which brings me to the topic of today's video, how the Koopa General could work in the mainline Mario series. Now, in order to make a character most likely intended to be a movie exclusive work in the mainline Mario franchise, the Koopa General would need build up. As much as I want to see my GOAT appear as soon as possible, that's not realistic. If we want to see the Koopa General ever become a mainstay in the franchise, he'd first need to appear in a spin-off. And what better way to introduce him into the games than adding him to Mario Kart? Looking at my theoretical timeline for the Koopa General, if there's any time for him to make it into Mario Kart, it'd be in some type of DLC for Mario Kart World, around the release of the Mario Galaxy movie, which would be April 2026. Now, there have been some leaks for Mario Kart World DLC for quite some time now, and while I think that's another topic in and of itself, any DLC would take a lot of time to develop. So, hear me out. DLC drops for Mario Kart World around the release of the second Mario movie. It features a new DLC island, some new and old tracks, and of course, characters, baby! Now, going out on a limb here, should Nintendo drop DLC near the release of their second Mario movie, there could be a chance that elements from the movies could be added into the games, such as yours truly. Now, the only problem is what makes me so sure that they'd capitalize on the Galaxy movie's release when they didn't even do that for the original movie? Not a whole lot, to be honest. Mind you, the fact that the Koopa General became a literal kamikaze and killed himself obviously means that the chances of him being in a sequel are very slim. So again, why add him now? Here's my little game theory for you. Sega did it for Shadow Generation. Now obviously Nintendo and Sega are two different companies, but I think the difference here is that Sega had a game around the release of Sonic 3 while Nintendo didn't. The closest game Nintendo had to coincide with the first movie's release was Mario Wonder, and that didn't come out until October 2023, 6 months after the film's premiere. I don't see us getting a new Mario game during April 26. However, DLC for arguably their most popular IP around that time frame, I could see that happen. And while obviously for the hypothetical to work, the Koopa General would have to be added in DLC like this, so just for the hypothetical sake, we're gonna go along with the idea that he would get added in Mario Kart DLC to coincide with the Galaxy movie. Honestly, I think it'd be pretty poetic in a way that the character based off of an item from Mario Kart would finally debut in Mario Kart. Now personally, even if the Blue Shell General appeared in one game and never again, that would be enough to make my life complete. But I'm not done yet with this hypothetical. I want to see my boy become a mainstay. So let's discuss how he could work in a mainline title. Now, just going off the idea that the Koopa General is added into a spin-off first, of course, there's two possibilities for how we could see him appear, 2D or 3D. Now, while it'd be really cool to see him in a 3D landscape, for the hypothetical, I'm just gonna go for 2D. Here's why. If there's one thing that the 2D games to this day have constant critique about, it's easily the boss battles. The new Soup games are notorious for the Koopaling battles being very cheesable, with the only real exception being the original DS game. Even the latest entry, Mario Wonder, a game that I absolutely adore, has a similar issue with Bowser Jr. as the main boss fight, yada yada yada. It's a constant in the world of 2D Mario. And honestly, the whole jump on the enemy's head 3 times gimmick has gotten really old and desperately needs an evolution to occur. How does the Koopa General fit into this boss battle epidemic? You can't jump on his head. He's wearing a helmet. The Koopa General is literally the perfect evolution for 2D Mario bosses. If back in the day all you had to do was wait for your opponent to exit their shell to cave their head in, then introduce an enemy that would be able to penetrate your foot if you recklessly attempt to stop his head in.
I have to break your neck.
Do you get the idea? This would force more creative boss design, as now, in order to damage an adversary that can't be stomped on, there would obviously need to be another way to deal damage. It could be in the use of some sort of swing mechanic, or even a clever use of a power-up. Imagine they introduce a power-up where you could just throw hands with Mario. But regardless, I generally think that even if the Koopa General obviously never became a reality, more creative bosses do need to become a reality. But hey, that's just a basic pitch for what a boss battle with the blue behemoth could look like. If you have any other ideas, feel free to share them. I know that for sure that implementing the character as a boss would go a long way into making better Mario bosses. However, the most interesting part about theorizing what the General would look like in the main universe is just how he would interact with the other characters. What would his role be in the grand scheme of things?
Tremble before fast!
Ultimately, I think the General would be a nice addition to Mario's gallery of villains. Actually, no, he'd be a great addition to the current Mario cast, simply because he's up there with the likes of Kamek in terms of henchman status for Bowser's army. Just be the better henchman to the Koopa King? Brutal. Also, I think if Nintendo were to implement more of his personality to the games, I think him having a one-sided beef with Mario would be funny to see. The dude literally wants Mario's blood on the rainbow pavement in the movie for absolutely no reason at all, so why not have him hold a grudge against the plumber that is heavily one-sided? I also think his dynamic with Bowser and even Bowser Jr. would be really interesting to see. Maybe he could be a babysitter to Bowser Jr., or maybe Bowser would entrust him with exclusive information to his next big plan. But that's the thing, as long as he remains a movie exclusive, we may never know. And that brings me to the video's conclusion. I really like this guy. He's ruthless and insanely dangerous, but he's also loyal to his cause, and above all else, he has such a memorable design. I really want to see him appear in the near future, and I really hope he doesn't become wasted potential. And while I know at the end of the day it comes from a place of cope, I hope that someday the Koopa General could appear in either a mainline game, or more realistically, a spin-off. I'm sorry that I was inactive for the entire month of December, guys. School really did get in the way, but yeah, here's to hoping 2026 will be just as great as last year was. At least in terms of channel growth. Thank you guys so much for watching, like and subscribe for more unique Mario content, and with that being said, bye bye, see you later.